Welcome back to Avoidant Decoded, where we uncover the hidden emotions, silent behaviors, and deeper psychology behind avoidant love. And today, we're exploring the quiet signs that reveal when an avoidant is no longer running from love, but finally choosing to stay. What if the biggest proof an avoidant loves you isn't what they say, but what they finally stop running from? When someone who once protected their heart with distance begins protecting the relationship instead, something profound has changed inside them. They may still need space, still struggle with words, and still move slowly, but their actions begin saying, "I don't want to lose you." And once an avoidant chooses to stay despite their fear, you're no longer witnessing simple attraction. You're witnessing trust becoming love. People often think love has to be obvious. The intense chemistry, constant attention, big romantic gestures, and emotional declarations that leave no room for doubt. But some of the deepest love can be surprisingly quiet. It shows up through calm companionship, steady presence, and the feeling that being beside someone simply feels peaceful. For an avoidant person, that kind of peace can communicate more than dramatic words ever could. For someone who has learned to rely heavily on themselves, commitment usually doesn't grow from emotional pressure or overwhelming intensity. It develops when they discover something much more meaningful: emotional safety. If closeness has historically felt connected to criticism, control, pressure, or a loss of independence, distance can become their natural protection. They may not be rejecting love itself. They may simply have learned that keeping people at a safe distance feels easier. Then they meet someone who doesn't try to force their walls down. Someone who respects their boundaries, allows them to move at their own pace, and doesn't turn every moment of withdrawal into a confrontation. Slowly, something unfamiliar begins to form: peace inside connection. When they realize they can be close to you without losing themselves, their defenses don't have to work so hard. They begin bringing you into parts of their life they once kept private. They may message you about something ordinary, invite you into their routine, or share a small detail about their day. They might tell you about something that scares them, or reveal a thought they normally keep hidden. From the outside, these moments may look insignificant, but emotionally, they can represent a major step. I trust you enough to let you closer. Their commitment may also look different from the kind of romance people usually expect. Instead of constant reassurance or dramatic displays, it may appear through reliability. When they truly choose the relationship, they begin staying present even during moments when their instinct tells them to retreat. They are taking the risk of being known because, somewhere inside, they have decided the connection is worth the vulnerability. For an avoidant, forever may not sound like 1,000 promises. Sometimes it looks much simpler. They stay. You may notice that they remain around you a little longer, communicate more freely, or become comfortable sitting beside you without needing constant conversation. They stop rushing away after emotional moments. They begin associating your presence with calm rather than pressure. Their need for independence may still exist, but now they are discovering that independence and intimacy don't have to be enemies. This is an important psychological shift. They are no longer searching for freedom only by escaping connection. They are beginning to experience freedom within a healthy connection. They can have personal space without turning that space into rejection. They can be close without feeling trapped. They can open up without believing they have completely surrendered control. And perhaps one of the strongest signs of growing trust is when they finally allow you to see what exists beneath their composed exterior. An avoidant may have spent years hiding fears, insecurities, painful memories, and emotional struggles because vulnerability once felt dangerous. They may look calm on the outside while carrying an entire storm internally. Letting another person witness that private world requires enormous trust. So, when they begin telling you about something painful from their past, admitting a fear, discussing an insecurity, or explaining what they genuinely need, don't underestimate the importance of that moment. They aren't simply giving you information. They're allowing you access to a part of themselves they usually protect. Their vulnerability may not always look smooth. They might hesitate, struggle to find the right words, change the subject, become uncomfortable, or even apologize for showing emotion. But beneath that awkwardness can be a powerful desire to finally be understood. They are no longer trying as hard to appear completely unaffected. They don't necessarily need you to admire their strength. They want to know whether you can see their imperfections and still remain emotionally safe. And eventually, something even more significant can happen. Instead of disappearing when they need comfort, reassurance, or space, they begin communicating those needs directly. That is a major transformation for someone who once survived emotionally by keeping everything inside. Because real intimacy isn't created when someone finally becomes completely unguarded. It happens when they begin believing they don't have to hide every vulnerable part of themselves to remain loved. For an avoidant, telling you the truth about their inner world may be one of the clearest forms of love they know how to give. Their walls may not collapse overnight, but every honest conversation, every moment of staying, and every choice to move toward you instead of automatically retreating is evidence that trust is becoming stronger than fear. Sometimes love isn't loud. Sometimes it is simply the moment someone who once needed distance begins choosing your presence and realizes that being close to you still allows them to be themselves. When an avoidant begins opening up, they usually aren't asking you to solve everything for them. What they often need is to feel understood while they carry difficult emotions. When you can stay present without trying to control, correct, or fix every feeling, the relationship can slowly become a place of safety instead of another source of pressure. One of the strongest signs that their feelings are becoming deeper is when they stop focusing only on protecting themselves and start protecting the relationship too. In the past, their attention may have been centered on maintaining independence, avoiding emotional dependence, and creating distance whenever vulnerability felt uncomfortable. Love can be appealing while still feeling frightening because real attachment creates the possibility of disappointment, rejection, loss, or feeling trapped. But something changes when the connection becomes valuable enough for them to protect. Earlier in the relationship, conflict may have triggered withdrawal. Going silent can feel easier than explaining what is happening inside them. Taking distance can seem safer than sitting with uncomfortable emotions. Yet as their attachment grows, they may begin doing something different. They may still need time alone to process, but instead of abandoning the connection, they start looking for a way back to it. That movement from escaping problems to repairing them is significant. It shows that the relationship is becoming more important than their automatic urge to retreat. They begin thinking about your emotional experience too. They become more careful about how their actions affect you. They slowly realize that protecting their own peace should not require destroying someone else's peace. This is where love begins shifting from self-protection toward mutual care. You might notice that when they become overwhelmed, they no longer disappear without explanation. Instead, they may tell you that they need some time. During an argument, they may still become uncomfortable, but they make an effort to return to the conversation rather than permanently walking away. Their actions begin expressing something they may not know how to say directly. I don't want to lose this. That is emotional growth. They are discovering that commitment doesn't have to mean giving up freedom. A healthy relationship can actually allow them to remain independent while consciously choosing connection. Protecting the bond becomes their quiet way of showing commitment. They may not make dramatic promises about forever, but their behavior starts creating a future with you. They show up when it matters. They consider you when making important decisions. They make room for you in their plans. When something threatens the connection, they care enough to address it rather than simply disappearing. These actions may look ordinary to other people, but for someone who once depended heavily on emotional distance, they can represent enormous change. Deep love can feel frightening for an avoidant because caring deeply also means becoming vulnerable to pain. Yet when they continue choosing the relationship despite that fear, they are deciding that what they have with you is worth the emotional risk. They are no longer simply trying to survive love. They are learning how to live within it, and their love may still be quiet. They might not constantly tell you how deeply they feel. Instead, their emotions often appear through reliability. When you genuinely need them, they show up. They remember the little things that matter to you. They notice what makes you uncomfortable, what brings you comfort, and what affects you emotionally. Slowly, they begin rearranging their private world to make room for you. You may see it in small changes. They adjust their routines. They naturally include you in parts of their day. They make space for your presence without making a big announcement about it. Even silence can begin to feel different. They can sit beside you without needing to escape, explain themselves, or fill every quiet moment. Your presence no longer feels intrusive. It starts feeling peaceful. That is a major transformation for someone who once depended on distance to feel secure. Their version of "I'm here" may not come through a dramatic confession. It may simply be their continued presence. When they genuinely see you as someone they want in their long-term life, devotion often appears through ordinary choices. They keep making small efforts to maintain the connection. They respect your need for space because they understand the importance of having space themselves. They don't want unnecessary emotional chaos because peace has become part of what love means to them. Their loyalty can sometimes be misunderstood as emotional distance. But there is an important difference between being unavailable and expressing love quietly. Someone who is genuinely invested may not constantly demand reassurance or attention. They may find comfort in knowing that the relationship is secure. They also tend to process emotions carefully. Instead of reacting immediately, they may think deeply before speaking. They often care more about authenticity than appearances. They would rather build something genuine than perform a relationship that simply looks romantic from the outside. So when they finally commit, it may not be because they were swept away by temporary excitement. It can be because they observed the relationship, experienced its safety, and consciously decided to let you into a part of themselves they normally protect. That decision represents enormous trust, and even after disagreements, they may still need to step away and regulate themselves. What matters is what happens next. If they return, make an effort to reconnect or find a small way to repair the bond. Their return can carry a powerful message. I'm still here. For an avoidant, consistency can communicate what words sometimes cannot. Their attachment doesn't have to depend on constant excitement or non-stop communication. When it becomes secure, it can survive distance, misunderstandings, and difficult conversations because it is built on trust rather than emotional intensity. Eventually, what once felt threatening can become a comfortable rhythm of connection. They learn that loving someone doesn't require losing their identity. They can maintain their individuality while still allowing another person into their life. And when they continue choosing your presence, making room for you, caring about your peace, protecting the relationship, and returning after difficult moments, they are making a choice that may once have felt almost impossible. They are choosing connection without feeling trapped. They are choosing vulnerability without believing they have surrendered themselves. They are choosing love without needing to make it loud. Because sometimes the deepest commitment isn't repeated in words. Sometimes it is found in the person who quietly remains, consistently cares, respects your peace, protects what you share, and keeps choosing the relationship even after the initial excitement has disappeared. That is the quiet language of lasting love. And when an avoidant finally learns to speak it, their silence is no longer simply distance. It can become devotion. When an avoidant truly loves you, their deepest promise may never be spoken. It may be shown through the choice to stay, return, repair, and make room for you. They may not love loudly, but when fear no longer controls every decision, their quiet consistency becomes a powerful form of devotion. The walls may not disappear overnight, but every step toward trust reveals that you have become part of the world they once guarded so fiercely. Because sometimes the most profound love isn't the person who says, "forever," the loudest. It's the person who quietly keeps choosing you.